Welcome back to our show. I'm Gary Fretz, and we're talking to Stephen Cocroft and Michelle Benaroche, two experts on cruising and using charter yachts to defray the cost of acquiring said yacht. Guys, what are the smallest size boats and yachts that you can put into charter, and what are the largest ones that can go into charter management?
Well, the smallest one I have seen are probably 31-foot monohulls that are really for budget charters and so that's the smallest I've seen in on the charter fleet. The largest ones, bareboats, are probably in the 50-foot range, 50 to 52-foot range.
Wait, explain what a bareboat is.
Oh, a bareboat is a boat without a crew. So it means that the boat is not bare in equipment; it's bare in terms of crew. And when you come with your party, then you're the someone in the party is a skipper.
So that doesn't mean you have to take off your clothes. You just
Who's clothed?
okay, and you can go up to around 50 feet for a bareboat, and if you're talking about crude yachts, they get infinitely larger, including 400 feet large. Okay, guys, if someone wanted to try out this cruising lifestyle, what sort of experience do you need to have? What do you need?
Well, if you want to charter a boat, guess you just need a gold Visa card to get one. No, I'm just joking. You need to have relatively good experience on a similar boat to what you're chartering from a charter company, and the way to get that experience is probably, if you're in a place that there are sailboats, is to try and get aboard them if they're race boats, and get aboard them as the swabby, as the crew, and get out on the water. There, of course, is the American Sailing Association, which does a lot of sail training around the United States, which prepares you for bareboat chartering. Go out, find someone who's experienced, and get them to be your captain and go and charter. But essentially, the charter companies are looking for relative experience on the particular boat that you want to charter. Everyone has to start somewhere. No one starts knowing it all, so don't ever feel bad about the fact you got to learn. Everyone's out there to help you.
Why don't you just tell us about the basic American Sailing Association courses that you can take?
Okay, well, there are the three initial courses. There's 101, which is your very basic sailing. You then get 103, which is intermediate, and you get 104, which is your bareboat chartering course. Essentially, your bareboat chartering course is a day captain's course. It doesn't really qualify you to sail at night, and there are not many charter companies that will allow you to sail after sunset anyway. Most of them, part of their rules are that you have to be at anchor on a mooring ball by the evening. Then the last course that you probably would want to do would be the 114, which is a sailing catamaran course. Which is almost like a conversion course to catamarans. Catamarans are nice because they have a much shallower draft than monohulls, so you can get in closer to shore, and they're nice and stable. Shallower draft just means you run aground in shallower water.
Now, wait a second. You are the catamaran guru here, but we have another point of view in this room. Michelle likes monohulls better. Tell us about that.
Well, the monohull to me is the real sailing. The catamarans are very popular in the charter industry, but I think the feeling of I don't know, the feeling of the elements, the feeling of the wind, the feeling of controlling the boat and fighting the weather when you go upwind. Those are sensations that you typically do not find on a catamaran. The catamaran is obviously much more comfortable, much larger, and what have you. And I see Stephen, disapproving strongly over there. But I like, as I said in the previous segment, I like the feeling of the boat healing and going into weather, and that's what I enjoy. And I don't, I like the catamaran when I have a large party, but I don't have that feeling when I, drive a catamaran.
Well, I'd like to just speak to this a little bit. There are a group of people who really get into sort of the zen of sailing. They're like board sailors or kite boarders who love to feel the balance of sailing, and they kind of get into the groove, and it's like entering this meditative state. And I think on monohulls, what Michel's trying to say is that you really get more of a sense of that, and catamarans they're not quite as sensitive. Although Steven's over there laughing at me, but when I own two cats, and I noticed that you did feel the balance and the sensitivity when the wind blew up. When it was blowing over about 20 something, that thing got really sensitive. What are you laughing about?
Well, all this sailing and rail in the water and all that wonderful stuff is really cool for about 45 minutes. And then after that, the balance is the fact that you want your beer to be balanced and not go flying across the cockpit every time the boat heels. I've done about 35,000 miles on a monohull, and eventually you kind of wish that your one leg was shorter than the other one, because you always got that wonderful feeling of the rail in the water. I think people that climb in through the roof to get into their living room are eccentric, personally. I like to walk through a pair of opening doors into the salon. But of course, I used to be a dyed-in-the-wool monohuller until my wife told me I wasn't anymore. And now I absolutely agree with her.
Well, you bring up some very good points. And back to our subject of chartering to get experience in cruising. What would you guys take on a typical charter?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, like, what do you
what I pack? Yeah, what I pack. It's easier to say what I don't pack. Usually, and that's a saying that we all have when we are experienced charterers, is that we put all our stuff that we want in a bag, then we put everything on the bed, and take half of it and put it back in the closet, and it works very well. As the years went by, I have taken less and less stuff on charter. First of all, because the boats are really well equipped, and number two, I realized that when even when I don't take much, half of it I don't use. So I go on charter typically for a week with not a handbag, but almost a small bag, that I not even check on the plane.
Do you still take that lime green thong along that you always used to wear?
Oh, I would never travel without it. No question.
Those French European guys. Okay, guys, let's talk about dinghies. On a cruising boat, a dinghy is used like a car. You run errands, you go sightseeing, you drive it where you want to go from where your home is. Talk about some of the different types out there.
A lot of different types of dinghy, and I've probably owned just about every one of them. I've owned a small, hard pram dinghy. I've owned small, little inflatable dinghies with inflatable floors, inflatable dinghies with folding floorboards, hard floorboards. Without a doubt, the best dinghy is the inflatable rib, just for all round, for stability. Put a big engine on it, you can get around fast. It's pretty dry, easy to beach. And when you load all your shopping in, it's on a solid floor and doesn't get wet. So that's the dinghy that I prefer.
Michel?
Yeah, one quick thing I want to add. A lot of people use the dinghy, obviously, to go snorkeling. And I have seen a lot of people who don't think about the little detail when they get back to the dinghy at the end of the snorkeling, they just cannot get back in the dinghy. So for whatever reason, because they're not strong enough or whatever the reason may be. So think about taking with you, as far as stuff to pack with you. Take something that you can buy in any marine store that will help you, like a folding ladder or step that will help people getting back in the dinghy.
Well, those sound like good tips. We were talking a little while ago about losing your yacht. And one time that happened to me. I was in Nantucket, anchored in the fog, and we went to dinner, and the anchor dragged just in the sand and came back. Boat wasn't there. And we finally did find it by just motoring downwind about a half a mile. And there was really no problem, but it was a little disconcerting. And how do you not lose your boat?
Well, there's some standard equipment you need to take when you go ashore, even if it's midday, because you might get hooked up testing a local beer out. I always switch on my anchor light before I go ashore, even if it's in the middle of the day. I always take a little flashlight with me, and I make sure that I know where my boat is.
Thanks, guys. Well, we have to wrap up, and we'll be back next week live on Thursdays, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, U.S., and you've been listening to Yachts, the Perfect Escape Vehicle on the Overseas Radio Network. This has been Gary Fretz.